Ever since I was little, something had always struck me as odd about the man who raised me. He wasn't my biological father, although I called him Dad. His name was Ottavio. He had a very calm manner, as if he were always measuring every word, every gesture, as if the world were a piece of porcelain about to shatter at any moment. I grew up in a house far from the city, surrounded by tall trees that seemed to whisper things when the wind blew by. We had no neighbors. We didn't receive visitors. There was no telephone. He said it was better this way. Less distractions, more focus on real life, he would repeat. Ottavio was a methodical man. He would wake up every day at 5 a.m., drink a strong coffee, read an old book with yellowed pages, and then disappear into the basement of the house. That basement, I could only go there when I turned 18. It was a rule he had repeated since I was a child. Curiosity can destroy your soul, boy. Wait for the right time. Little by little, I began to accept it as part of my life, as if it were natural to live with a forbidden space within my own home. When I asked him about my mother, he said she had died in childbirth. He never showed me a photo of her. He never said her name. Everything I knew about my past came from him. And as strange as it all seemed, Ottavio treated me well. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to build small things with wood. He read to me at night. But there were moments when he would stop talking out of nowhere, stare at some point in the distance, as if he had heard something I couldn't hear. His eyes would lose their color, as if he were diving into a memory he was trying to forget by force. Everything changed the day I turned 17. I was cleaning the back of the yard when I found something buried near the greenhouse. It was a rusty metal box, locked with an old padlock. Curious, I tried to open it, but without success. That night, while Ottavio was sleeping, I took the box to my room and, with great effort, broke the lock with a screwdriver and a hammer. Inside, I found something that changed my life forever. Old photos, a torn diary, and a handwritten letter. The photos showed Ottavio, but with a different appearance. Younger, more confident. And next to him, a woman who looked a lot like me. The pages of the diary were stained, but I could read passages that talked about experiments, about a special child, about time being rewritten. The letter, however, was what really chilled me. It was signed by someone named Dr. Ottavio H. Mireless, the same handwriting as my father. In the letter, he spoke of a secret project, of a desperate escape, of a child who should not exist. And at the end, a sentence. If you are reading this, then you already know too much. Go away, before it is too late. The next day, I tried to confront him, but he wasn't home. I waited for hours. When he finally returned, I noticed something different about him. His eyes were red, his hands were shaking. It was as if he already knew what I had found. Before I could say anything, he simply said, "Now you need to know the truth." He led me to the basement. He unlocked the door with a key he had worn around his neck for as long as I could remember. We walked down the steps in silence. The place was dark, damp, and smelled old. In the center of the basement was a glass capsule connected to wires and machines that looked like something out of a science fiction movie. Inside the capsule was a body. My body. Sleeping. Just like me. Same face. Same hair. Same everything. I froze. "You're not the original," he said, his eyes welling up. "You're the only one who survived." At that moment, my brain felt like it was trying to escape through my mouth. My entire body was shaking. My stomach turned as if something had broken inside. "What do you mean I'm not the original?" I asked, almost out of breath. Ottavio walked slowly through the basement, his heavy footsteps echoing between the stuffy walls. "You were the last in a series of attempts. All failed until you." I tried to erase the mistakes, but each one left a mark. He knelt in front of the capsule and touched the glass. "The real you didn't survive. Your body couldn't handle the process. What you are is a restart, a reflection, but with something more." I stared at the sleeping version of myself. The resemblance was perfect. The breathing, slow and light, as if it were just sleeping deeply. Then I realized that thing inside the capsule wasn't a corpse. It was alive. And worse, it was still growing. Ottavio led me to a shelf in the corner of the basement, where there were dozens of vials with strangely colored liquids and folders with notes. The papers contained complex formulas, Latin words, symbols he had never seen before. "You were made to survive the impossible," he said, flipping through one of the folders. I wanted a new chance, not for me, but for the world. He looked at me deeply. "You are the key to something that even I don't fully understand." That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to understand what it all meant. Was I a copy? An experiment? A clone? An aberration? The next day, I decided to run away. I packed a backpack with food, water, and some documents. But when I got to the door, Ottavio was there. He looked older, as if he had aged 10 years in one night. "If you leave now, you will die. It's not a threat. It's a certainty. You are not complete yet." He opened the palm of his hand and showed me something, a small device like a chip encased in glass. "This is inside you. It hasn't activated yet, but it will activate, and when it does, you will understand. Or you will lose yourself forever." Over the next few days, I began to notice changes in my body. My vision became sharper. I could hear things from miles away. My thoughts came with frightening clarity. I could remember things I had never experienced, dreams or memories. I began to wonder if there were other versions of me out there. Had he tried more times than he counted? One night, I woke up to noises coming from the basement. I went downstairs cautiously and found Ottavio in front of the capsule, crying. Not sobbing, crying silently, as if he were asking for forgiveness without words. He looked at me and said, "The time is coming. They've found out where we are." The next morning, he handed me an envelope. "Inside this is everything you need to know. But you can only open it after I'm no longer here." The sentence gave me chills. "Who are they?" I asked. "The ones who want to erase everything. Because you represent the most dangerous mistake, the chance to correct history. You were created to defy time." That night, the house was invaded. 3 armed men in unmarked uniforms broke down the door and went straight to the basement. Ottavio pushed me out the back door and shouted, "Run. Don't look back." I ran. For the first time in years, I ran through the woods that surrounded the house. I heard gunshots, explosions, muffled screams. When the sun rose, I went back. The house was destroyed, burned. Everything was in ashes. The basement was buried. But among the rubble, I found the envelope he had given me. Inside, a key, a letter and an address, a specific coordinate located in a forest in the interior of Piranha. The letter was different from the previous one. This one began with, "Son, if you are reading this, it means that my part of the mission is over." He explained that he was part of a Brazilian government project during the 1980s, a secret experiment involving genetic manipulation and temporal distortion. The goal was to create a being capable of resisting the collapse of reality, predicted by calculations made by a quantum artificial intelligence. The problem is that, when trying to predict the future, the AI discovered that the very concept of timeline was wrong. It was not a line. It was a field, and fields can be rewritten. What Ottavio did was try to protect a version of humanity, one that had a better chance of surviving, one that had more empathy, more control, more balance between reason and instinct. That was the unimaginable secret. I was not just a clone. I was an attempt to correct human nature itself, a being made to carry the memory of lost civilizations, humanity's traumas, and at the same time, a preserved innocence, a pure restart. But that was not accepted by those who controlled the world. That's why they came. That's why Ottavio died. I followed the coordinates. It took me 2 days to walk through the forest, facing cold, hunger, fear. But when I reached the designated point, I found a building camouflaged among the trees. Inside, more capsules, more like me, all in a state of deep sleep, and in the center of the room, a terminal. When I approached, it turned on by itself. The screen lit up with a message. "You are ready." The terminal asked for my hand. It scanned my fingerprint. In seconds, The capsules began to open one by one. The eyes of the copies opened slowly, one by one, all identical to me. But I knew we were not the same. I was the first to fully awaken. I was the seed. In the following months, I began to study everything that was there. Documents, videos, reports. I discovered that there were more bases like that spread across the world. Brazil, Russia, Canada, South Africa, all connected by an ancient network built before the internet as we know it. The name of the project was Chronos. The goal: to create the next step for humanity, not en masse, but little by little, one by one, shaping beings that could sustain a new era after the world as we know it collapsed. And the collapse was closer than I imagined. If you've come this far, you may be wondering, is this true? Am I crazy? Or do you also feel that there is something wrong with the world? A feeling that everything is about to change, and you don't know why. Maybe you're right. Maybe time has already been rewritten. Maybe you too have been touched by the Chronos project. And if that is the case, get ready, because the next phase has already begun. And what Ottavio taught me was a lesson I will never forget. The deepest secrets are not kept out of fear. They are hidden because if they are discovered, they can change everything we understand as reality. I was raised by a man who hid an unimaginable secret, and now that secret lives inside me.